Hey guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. In this video, I want to see how we can farm all the current new vegetation blocks coming in Minecraft 1.21.5, as a lot of them have unique farming properties. So by the end of this video, we should have some kind of farm for at least most of these. So let's start off with wildflowers, as I think these are probably the easiest to farm, as farming for these just requires a simple dispenser and then some kind of redstone clock. In this case, we are just going to use observers. This can be repeaters if you don't want to go to the nether, but observers are the easiest redstone clock because you just need two of them facing into each other and that creates a clock. So if I now place that there, that dispenser is going to power, and then if I fill the dispenser with bone meal, which we can do just by doing that, as soon as I place a wildflower here, it's going to bone meal it, and you can now see it's popping them off. Meaning that I can either stand here, but I can make this even better, because if I don't want to stand here and harvest them myself, I can place a chest right here. So let's quickly just grab a chest. I can place a chest right there. I can then place a hopper going into that chest, and I'm pretty sure wildflowers can be placed on mud. So let's quickly just try that, and they can. So now all we need to do is just grab ourselves some glass blocks. This could also be any other solid block, but glass is better because we can see through it. And doing something like that would now cause it to work. So I can throw the bone meal back in there. Let's just fill it up a little bit more. And you can now see that the items are going onto the ground and then they are going straight into this chest. So as simple as that, we have a wildflower farm. All you need is a dispenser, some kind of redstone clock. It could be hopper clock, it could be repeater clock, or it could be observer clocks. And then you also could have a hopper and a chest, and also a piece of mud. Now, using the mud avoids using hopper minecarts, but you could also use a hopper minecart if you want to use a grass block. Obviously, if you want to save resources, you could always just stand here picking up the items in your inventory. I am also just going to build a system to turn this off. So if I just place a piston here, and this is a sticky piston, place a lever, push that lever, that then pushes the observer out the way, meaning there's no longer a clock, so it turns it off. And that is now the wildflower farm done. Now this next farm works for bushes and also dry grass. But this one does require a player as far as I'm aware, because these 3 blocks require a player to break them. So let's first of all focus on the bush block, and then we'll come to the dry versions in a second. So once again, if I just grab some bone meal and place it in here, if we grab ourselves the same thing, so I just grab 2 observers and face them into each other, and it bone meals it onto these blocks right here, which you could change how it bone meals them just by placing like a void block. So if I don't want it to go here, I can just place glass there, and if I don't want it to bone meal on here, I just place glass there. Meaning now every time it gets bone mealed, it will only be able to place it right here. Now, when I break this with my fist, nothing drops, and that is because you require shears or silk touch to pick this block up. Now, another thing, does it pop off as an item when you break it with a piston? I'm guessing not, but we're going to test it anyway. So if I push it, yes, you can see nothing drops. And what if I push the block it is sitting on? I'm guessing it's probably not going to drop anything either. So yes, this does require a player to be active. But once again, this is all you really need for the bush farm, because I could now sit here and break this bush, and you can see I'm now farming bush. Now the issue I just had is I broke the grass block below us. The question is, if I put a harder block there, so let's just say wood, it doesn't bone meal onto that. Okay. So it has to be a grass-like block, I'm guessing. Let's grab a mud block once again, just because we can then put a hopper underneath this to collect any items. So if our inventory fills up, then it can still be collecting. So I'm going to quickly do that. So I'm going to place a chest right there, and then I'm also just going to place a hopper going into this chest. And now I'm going to AFK right here. Once again, I want to grab a few more glass blocks. These could be any solid block. I'm just using glass because it's easier to see what I'm doing. And now if I go AFK right here, this glass block here will probably be destroyed, so I could put obsidian there, or I could just leave it air. And now if I just sit here breaking the block, this is how we create a bush farm, because the bushes are either going into my inventory, or they're going down into this chest. There is the rare occasion they go onto this block, which once again, we could just solve that by placing obsidian or another block that is very hard to destroy. And now, as long as we have bone meal within this dispenser, which you can obviously connect it to a bone meal farm, we can now just sit here breaking these, and we're going to get a load of the bush items. Now next, let's cover the short dry grass and also the tall dry grass, because we can use the same thing again right here, where if I place down a dispenser and I do the observer clock once again going into the back of this, let's add the way to turn it off right now just while we're still building it, and all we need to do is place the dry grass there. Now, one thing to note, this is going to require some adaptations depending on what one you want to farm. So if I do pretty much the same what we've done for the bush farm, so if I place glass blocks there and glass blocks there, this will now only be able to dispense onto this block. So let's grab some more bone meal. So now I've turned it on, you can see this farm is creating the small version. And with that being said, this is how you create the small version. So all we need to do is cover it with glass blocks like we did with this one. Once again, placing a chest down below right here with a hopper on top. So let's quickly just do that, making sure the hopper faces into the chest. And then we want to place a mud block on top of that. So if I do that right there, that is now farming us that. And then we just want to place the obsidian there, so once again, no items get lost. And now if we stand here, breaking this block, now we are farming these short dry grass. Once again, they are going to go into our inventory. There is also the chance they could go into this chest. But to farm the taller version, you could just place the small ones down and then bone meal them once. But let's say we want to make it automatic. So now if I turn this on, this is exactly what we have over there. This is going to obviously bone meal the short version right here. Then what we need to do is place another dispenser here so that this one can also be bone mealed. Now, one thing to note about this, bone meal isn't wasted. You can see this currently isn't bone mealing. No bone meal is being consumed. So you're not going to waste bone meal just by having this constantly clicking. But the constantly clicking can be kind of annoying, which you could just turn off your block sounds. So I'm going to make one change to this, and that is the fact that I'm going to move the observer clock one block back. And that is so we can have a block in between the observer and the dispenser. And then with that, we can now just have some redstone line, bringing this around to this dispenser. And then by having another solid block right here, which I can just use the oak plank again, that is now going to power this one as well. Now this one don't currently have any bone meal in, and when I push this, both of them will turn off. So now if I quickly just fill this one with bone meal, if I was to now turn this farm back on, let's quickly just add the collection system that we've added to all the rest. Chest right there. Then we want to have a hopper going into the chest, and then we want to have a mud block right there. So now if I turn this on, you can see this one is now becoming the tall grass. So if I was to once again stand here and break this, you can see I am now farming the tall version. I left my mouse a little bit too low, so let's look into the center of this observer. And there we go. You can now see I have 31 of them. And if I keep breaking, I will get a load. And as you can see, I'm also not getting a single version of the small ones. Now, one thing to note, if you AFK here for long periods of time, this observer here could break. So you could just move this to this block here if that does become an issue for you. If you want it at the back there, you could just look at an angle like this. I did also forget about this. This will happen, but it will only happen once and then it won't happen again, because obviously it can't grow again if the block's already there. So let's cover the Firefly bush next, because this one is once again pretty similar to these. Now, the difference between these ones and the Firefly bush doesn't need a player interaction. So, if I was to once again replicate this over here, I'm gonna quickly just do this because we've seen it quite a few times before. This is what I currently have. I have the same, what we have for every single one of these, with the dispenser and then the observer clock. And if I quickly just replace this with one for bone meal, there we go. Now all we need to do is do the collection system, which is the mud, the hopper, and the chest. I'm just doing one chest for now because it's an example and I don't really need more than one chest's worth of storage. So here we go. This is now what we have. We have exactly the same. But the thing with the Firefly bush is if I quickly just turn this on, this will break even with my fist. So now I've done that, all I need to do is connect this redstone up to this piston. And by doing that, we have a Firefly bush farm. I am also just going to place some glass right here, so the Firefly bushes can't go anywhere. And I'm also going to place a block right there as well, just so once again they can't be pushed upwards. Now we do come to an issue where they are getting stuck on this back block, which that is quite an easy solution. If I quickly just turn this off and break this one, we can just add another hopper underneath this back one, and then once again have this as a mud block. And now if I was to place that back and once again cover it with glass, and then I was to reactivate this, let's just place that block back, you can now see it's working and none of them are getting stuck. That piston is going way faster than I thought it would. Why is it going that fast? Well, we are definitely getting them, so it's not wasting anything. That is now all the basic ones farmed. So let's now jump to cactus flowers, because these require a little bit more work. Now, for a cactus flower farm, I tried a lot of different designs and a lot of them don't work because of how cactus flowers grow. So how they grow, let's quickly just explain this. They grow with a percentage chance on top of a cactus. So when the cactus grows from 1 block high to 2 blocks high, there's like a 10% chance that instead of placing another cactus on top, it will place a cactus flower. And then as it gets taller, the chance of the cactus flower increases. But once it gets to this 3 blocks tall, cactuses can't grow anymore, meaning that you have to either destroy this or leave it. But also, cactus flowers will not grow if there are blocks on the adjacent side. So if I was to do something like this, a cactus flower would never be able to grow in this slot. So that's where you have to use some kind of redstone, and I found this on Reddit, and this does seem to work pretty well. I will have the Reddit page linked in the description if you do want to check out the original creator of it. So let me quickly just explain how this works for anyone who is new to redstone, as it's quite simple. There is an observer right here. So that observer detects for any block being placed within this slot, and when there is a block, it powers this redstone line, which pushes this piston. And then it powers this with 1 tick of delay, which then powers this piston when it's pushed to this slot, causing it to break whatever block is here. And if it's a cactus, it just breaks the cactus off. If it's a cactus flower, it also breaks that off. Now, what we could do right here is once again do our collection system. So if we just build some glass blocks going up like so, and then glass blocks going up like so. You could also tile this, so if I want to add another one right here, I can do that. And then all we need to do is throw down a hopper right here with a chest. So if I quickly just grab the resources, and I put a chest right there, and I throw a hopper right there. That hopper is now going to pick up anything that drops onto it and pull it into this chest. I have also just placed glass here, so items can't be pushed, although they don't seem to be. And with that, that is a cactus farm. Now, it is quite slow. I've currently got the random's tick speed set to 300, which is 100 times more than it normally is, as the default random tick speed is normally 3. But this works pretty well, although for it to be efficient, you are going to need to tile it. So you're going to have another one of them next to it or a few blocks away, which does get very resource heavy because it does use 2 pistons and a observer for every single one of these you want to build. Now let's cover leaf litter, because leaf litter is once again a little bit different. Now one thing I don't know is if you bone meal an oak tree, does it place leaf litter at the bottom of it? I don't believe so, but I want to test this anyway. If I quickly just head over here, place that down and bone meal it, it doesn't place any leaf litter. And leaf litter doesn't have any bone meal interaction, so I can't bone meal this to get more of it. So to obtain leaf litter, you could go to a forest biome and break it, but you can also get it from smelting leaves. So if I quickly just grab a furnace and then I grab some coal. If I was to throw any type of leaf in here, it can be pale oak, it can be dark oak, it can be acacia. If I was to throw them in there, you can see these will smelt down into 1 leaf litter per 1 leaf, which if we quickly just wait a sec, there we go. So they can be farmed, but farming them requires you to farm leaf blocks, which once again isn't that easy, because you need to build either a tree farm or you need to just go around breaking them within the wild. So leaf litter is the only block we're not going to cover how to farm, because once again, farming them requires you to build a tree farm, or it requires you to build some complicated mechanic to get them. But anyway, that is it for this video. Once again, if you did enjoy, do like and subscribe. We are now farming every single type of vegetation block, apart from leaf litter. Now, once again, these are very basic farms. You could expand them to be a lot bigger and industrial if that is something you would like to do. I just wanted to build basic ones so you guys get a rough idea. But anyway, I'll see you guys in another video very soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.